Thanks for Professor Yao invite. I'm very happy to share some of my experience data science field in the marketing data science org at Uber. So let me go through some agenda I have. So first, I will go for some of the new technology nowadays, how we can do marketing. Then I will go for our team structure, and then we will go for some key projects we have for the team. And then I will go for some experience I have at Uber as a data scientist and some general career talks. Some of my early experience in my data science career. So let's go. Oh, again, so I just mentioned about our mission statement of the company. I go for we have the riders and drivers app, right? Then we have the Uber Eats app for food and grocery delivery. And this one, maybe you guys are less familiar. So we also have another product for non-grocery or food logistics, which is the Uber Freight. And then here is just some screenshots of some apps like the rider apps. We have the Uber Eats apps and also the driver apps. So why marketing? Marketing is very important for growth, especially when it comes to introducing the new products and new features of a product. And why that is, it is particularly important to the tech company because we need to stay competitive as a tech company. We want our customers to get to know our products as soon as possible. And especially, and also we have a lot of new features rolling out in a very frequent basis. So we need marketing to enhance all those knowledge transfer as soon as possible. So based on a survey from Deloitte, marketing comprised 11% of the total company budgets. And as a matter of fact, Uber has 14 billion revenues last year. So think about if we roll for 10% of the revenue, that is a lot of things we can do. So we need to spend a lot of time to make sure we have an optimal strategy to make use of this kind of budget. And we have more than 600 cities across the world. So imagine that when we need to launch new products in different cities, there are a lot of things we need to think about, and we need a very sophisticated framework, a reusable framework, a generalized framework that we can apply on different situations. And finally, another matter of fact, advertising revenue for Google actually make up the total company's revenue for more than 70%. So you can think of how big is the market for advertising. So in the upcoming couple of slides, I'm going to go for some standard way how we can do marketing and how we can do it in Uber. So first, we have this search engine. Google Bing is a typical example, right? So how that works is you type a keywords, then a couple of results appear, and if the results actually based on some crawling of the indexing of the pages we have, and by matching with the query with a rank of relevancy, then it pops up the results. And in particular, the results are separated into paid versus non-paid segment. So as you can see, the paid one usually will appear at the top. So those are the the section that is bid by the companies, depends on the amount they want to bid, and also the keywords they specify. And then there are some results after the paid section, that is the non-paid, that is related to all the indexing I just mentioned. So there are a very different strategy between these two when we do optimization. And another matter of fact, 5.6 billion searches per day in Google. So you can imagine how big it is. We can influence the users in terms of conversion and acquisition. So far, any questions? Okay. So I will just go over, continue to going over all the marketing channels. Another famous one, a popular one, is the social platform, right? We have Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. So the advantage of this platform is that we can have the personalization on targeting and creatives. And also we have more demographic information about those users, such as like the profile of the users, or like what kind of pattern, what kind of ads did they click in the past, something like that, so that we can like build a lookalike and uplift models. And more importantly, this kind of platforms provides a deeper integration with pages, photos, and videos. So imagine like we can do a advertisement for people who just have finished a video clip on maybe a restaurant or something. Then we can like recommend a Uber Eats app with a personalized a recommendation of some kind of cuisine, things like that. So we can be very creative on how we do marketing on this channel. And again, this market is also very huge because like because of this era of mobile apps. Then more traditional channels, emails. So it is widely used in CRM. It is also widely used in retargeting the churn users. So for example, like when we observe some inactive users or some users below some kind of thresholds of some activity metrics, we can prototype some algorithms to send out some reminder, like say, hello, we have some new features of the app, and kind of touch base with the inactive users, what kind of service we can provide in order to like keep them re-engaged with us. And another thing we can do with emails is that to complete the user's experience. So I show an example here that we can send out a receipt to the user to summarize the usage of like the previous ride, and to kind of like mention maybe some new features or some advertisement along with the receipt. So again, we can do personalization and dynamic creatives here. So that is another mediums we can use to do marketing. And then we have the promotions or loyalty program. Sometimes we call this like incentives. Basically, the idea is that we create extra incentives for users to try our apps. Some popular example is that like Prime in Amazon, or free trials in Netflix or LinkedIn Pro. So all these kind of things is trying to provide the discount, some kind of extra incentives for users to try something new. So as I mentioned, like membership loyalty program is a typical example. And we also have some referral program at Uber that when we refer a new users, we can have like additional bonus. And for driver, we provide some milestones for the driving mileage, so that it can like create some extra incentive for drivers. And then, so all these things very effective in short terms, while long term they require some more analysis, because it is directly this kind of channels are expensive because it's directly consuming the budget. So because of that, fraud detection is also very important in this channel. So next we have the more traditional marketing channel. In the offline marketing, we have the TV, radio, billboard. So this kind of like a complement of the digital world, such that we can cover some non-frequent digital users. It also works better for brand marketing, and usually it covers larger geographical area because it does not apply any limits on the electronic device or like a particular app the user have to have. Meanwhile, it creates some challenge for us to do the tracking or personalization. So far I have gone through some typical marketing channels. Any questions?
So yeah, I actually have a question about it. So Edwin, when you talk about the promotions, and you said the fraud detection was crucial. So by the fraud detection, do you mean that people like use several email addresses to refer to themselves to get those promotions? Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah. So we observe this is pretty popular, not popular, but like it's not like a rare scenario in what we observe. So we have a very robust system to detect, maybe based on the IP address, maybe besides on some like response rate. Like if they're doing it systematically, if they probably do it through some robot or something like that. So that would give us some signal in the response rates.
And also among those like promotion strategies, which one from your experience is probably the most effective one?
So this is a very good question. So it really depends on what kind of metrics we are measuring. If we care about just the acquisition or like the headcount of the customers, incentives is a good way to do that. But many people argue that whether this is truly like driving the engagement in long term for users versus it's just getting the headcount because people just want to get the reward. That is that there is a lot of questions about that. And also, I think it depends on if you want to bring this up as a generic topic, it really depends on the product, right? Because maybe there are some like luxury products, then it may still this kind of argument may still hold because it creates some sort of barrier for people to switch. But for some products, maybe for Uber, it's more about utilities. Then the barrier is relatively low because you can argue this is kind of like a utilities for transportation. So it requires more analysis on what kind of metrics we care, and also some subtle change of the setting of the incentives could make a lot of difference as well. Like between a loyalty program versus maybe a direct referral, something like that, it could be very different. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, so and also like in terms of like quantify the impact of the channels, I have another slide to go through that. So just be patient. I will go over that in the next couple of sections. So going back to here, this diagram kind of summarizes what I just went through. So we have the we are as the marketing team, we are in charge of all these different channels to do marketing, and it's kind of driving the action for users to try our apps for different products. And between the products, so this is something interesting for Uber. We can do some creative advertising between the products as well to convert some users from trying one product to another. For example, we can convert riders to eaters, or we can vice versa convert eaters to riders, or we can convert like drivers to couriers or eaters. Something may not be significant, but I'm just like create some example here. Maybe drivers to riders is a little bit extreme, but that is like the overall idea. So usually we will do advertisement as a standalone process for restaurants and shippers. Shippers here I mean the like the shops for Uber Freight, like the logistic deliveries. So that's like the overview of marketing. And another thing which makes marketing at Uber challenging but also interesting is that we do not only care about like the pure acquisition metrics or like the growth metrics, but also we care whether the growth is happening at the right time and also at the right market. So think about if we maximize the number of new riders, it may not help for our business, because we may at the end, if we don't have a consistent growth for drivers, we just create the shortage of supply instead of a real driver for the entire the overall business. So that is something interesting for Uber. Besides marketing, we also need to do some supply and demand analysis. So that's it for the marketing overview. Any questions? Okay, then let me move on to the marketing data science analytics MDSA team structure. So first, this is the team mission statement: build the data science products and frameworks to improve marketing efficiency and customer value. So basically, we are the brain of the marketing org. We build framework to improve by any means to improve the efficiency through intelligent targeting, channel optimization, and some analysis of how can we the funnel analysis, where are the potential customers we can drive the growth or improve the quality of the customers. So those type of things belongs to the responsibility of our team. So here is a simplified version how our data science team interact with marketing and in engineering. But I think it's a good a simplified example to kind of explain in high level what we are doing. So at the left-hand side, when we interact with marketing, we understand the business objective. We translating into quantitative metrics. Also, we will provide some data analysis and exploratory and some case studies, what kind of things we can quickly turn around to adjust the to make the business decision. For example, whether providing maybe $50 reward for a referral versus $20, which one makes more sense, something like that. Or when we look at people who clicking our app from different pages, is there any blocking from one to another, or what kind of customers get stopped at which stage from conversion, something like that. So that kind of a more a statistical analysis or a business-based analysis will be happen on this side. And of course, it requires some communication that we can translate all the qualitative description to quantitative at once. So that is the task we're working with the marketing. On the other hand, when we want to implement something like automation or more a scalable way, we need engineering, right? So things like data pipelines, when we have the data storage, how we can automatically update the data, either in a daily basis or real-time basis, depends on the ask. So we need to build the data pipelines. We need to build the right platform or right setup criteria to store the data. All these sort of things, we need to assist the engineers to achieve that by providing our expertise. And also, when we want to build some automation, let's say when we display some ads, right, with some personalized algorithms. So that is the things we need to help to design the device, the algorithms. And then once we have the model, we need to deploy them and automate them. So that is another big topic too, right? So it depends on what kind of maybe programming language we run, what kind of prototype we want to use, whether we should put the model online or offline, with what kind of data distributing system, something like that. That's all the things we need to assist. And I just mentioned scalability. So so whether when we test it, whether it works for just the local, a small data set versus a large data set, it could make a big difference of the choice of platform we want to make. So that's we need to make a suggestion what kind of framework we can do to scale up the products. So finally, it requires a very different skill sets of communication versus the when we communicate to non-technical audience, such as maybe a flowchart diagram or some other diagram to precisely describe what is the framework. and also some other like engineering documentation, stuff like that could be another task for the data science team. So something very special for marketing is that besides these two, like the operations versus the engineering, we also need to work with product manager and also finance. Product manager probably is still quite unique at Uber for other teams. So product manager is like the people who like overcharge the overall health of the project, while finance team is kind of special for our team because we do a lot of modeling on the return of advertisements. So it's also something we need to work with the finance to understand what is the return rate in order to design the budget and also report the some cost analysis. So that is something that is another team we work pretty frequently. Okay, so now back to the structure of the MBSA team. We have two major segments, like a separate big team or under MBSA. So that is the analytics team. So for the analytics team, there is a huge group working on the campaigns analytics. So as I mentioned, there are a lot of decisions we need to make, and many of them need a very quick turnaround. It could be a very standard procedure such as A/B test or some kind of experimentation test, but we need to run it in a more like a frequent basis. So this is the team who responsible for that. So like providing opinion whether the creatives, like the version, ad version A versus version B, which one is better, and what is the conversion rate, something like that. So that is the things this team is doing. The other one is still more like a data mining task, but this is more open-ended. It depends, it is case by case. So the funnel analysis I mentioned could be a case for this team. So project like whether a specific user is converting, has a like a high, maybe like has a higher like rate of quitting the funnel versus the other page. That could be another analysis for the team. And then for the other track, we have the data science team, and there are 4 teams. The first team is the digital advertising. So remember I mentioned like the search engine optimization, like the real-time dynamic creatives. This is the team who responsible for that. And then we have another team who do more modeling and modeling of like users patterns. Well, like to analyze like what kind of value of each user can provide us, and also what kind of like potential of some new users, new visitor we observe, what kind of potential conversion rate we could have when we display an ad to those new visitors. So that is the things belongs to this team. And then we have the research and development team. So this team is more back end. So imagine that when we deploy some like models or framework for all this analysis, these teams may not have too much time to come back to say like, what are the other choices of model we can do, because they are busy with the more like a day-to-day basis improvement. So this teams is more aiming for the long-term improvement by getting more like cutting-edge knowledge ideas from maybe academic papers or some publication from the industry. So maybe we can, for example, maybe we can switch from a logistic regression to a deep learning model or something like that. So that is the things this team is doing. And finally, we have the planning and forecasting team. So this team support all the like the cross-channel optimization and also some forecasting model to monitor what kind of growth we can project in the next coming quarter or month, something like that. So that is the basic structure of the MDSA team. So then the team I just mentioned is more about the vertical axis, but there are some sub-team within this vertical axis which have more expertise on the product and region. There it depends on what kind of project we work on. Sometimes we can do it as a whole for the whole product or region, but sometimes there are some maybe some regional, like a local policy we need to care, or there are some a different setting for a particular product. Then when we separate and we will have some specialists working on a particular product or a particular region. So by this like horizontal team working with the vertical team, then we create a project, and also we create the deliver the effective solution in this kind of approach. So that is the structure for the MDSA team. I want to make a pause here just to make sure I answer the questions. So any questions so far?
That's one of the, oh, you know what? Whoever said that first, go first.
No, Grant, you go.
I was gonna ask what is like a big challenging task you faced in your field, and how did you overcome it?
Okay, but this is kind of a broad question.
Yeah. I was just gonna ask that at the end. I thought you were just asking any question. So yeah, whenever. Yeah.
Yeah, I can give a couple of examples here. So, for example, I mentioned, so there are like different products in our analysis, right? So, for example, like when we work on the riders and driver apps, we have like two-side market, but things get much more complicated when we work on the its product, because there it becomes like a three-side market. So there is the eaters, we have the restaurants, we also have the couriers for the food. So then it creates like some more, like we need to like rethink about this strategy, how we can balance the three-side market versus the two. That is one thing. The other thing is remember I mentioned there are a couple of marketing channels, right? So there are some channels, for example, like TV and radio. It creates some challenge for us that when we do analysis of the growth or like the impact, it creates some challenges because we cannot track like who really look at the like watch the TV ads or like listen the radio ads. Versus in the digital world, we have all the tracking system so that we can build like some like a user level model for those channels. Versus for those TV and radio channels, we need to be creative on how we can like we think about this problem. Maybe we need to leverage some kind of statistics analysis, something like that. Did I answer your questions?
Yeah, thank you. That was cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually,
yes.
I have a question about the data scientist and also the data analyst. Yeah, data analyst. You have like two teams, and I know that I have some students and who actually are considering this career. But what do you see the biggest difference between these two career paths as the marketing analyst and the data scientist?
That's a good question. So I actually have a specific topic, a specific section to discuss this. So in high level, I think for the analytics one, it focuses more on the communication, problem solving, and business acumen. While for data science, it has more emphasis on coding and mathematics. I think that is the general idea here. I have a deep dive on the career sections I have put on this presentation. So I can come back to this topic later.
Okay, awesome. I actually received another question in the chat box.
Okay.
One student asked me, what a workday consists of for the campaign analytics team and how much they work with the other teams mentioned.
Oh, okay. In general, just one thing to explain here. Overall, for the data science career, it's hard to describe like a day-to-day basis what they are working on. It really depends on the cycle of the project, because there could be like in the initial phase of a project, one can like work a lot on like with the marketers to discuss what are the business goal, what kind of problem, kind of in high level we observe, and then and then in the next phase, maybe the other week, then people start to like looking at the data, try to match the find the answer through the data to tie it back to the questions, and then maybe the next week, then it will focus much more on the coding or like the data analysis. What kind of solution we can propose to answer the question at the end. So like kind of finalize the solution. And then at the final phase, it can back to the more like a discussion, communication to the stakeholders, how the solution is built, what is the measure of success, how it improved the results when we look back from like a few weeks or few months ago. So that is kind of the general full cycle of the project overall for all this team. But in particular for campaign analytics, so you can imagine like at the beginning, we will talk to the marketers. Maybe the first 2 weeks, we will talk to the marketers or what kind of new campaigns we have. Like maybe we have during the COVID period, we have the campaign like asking people to wear masks, like kind of this kind of new advertisement, or like we have like more restaurants support. So we have a new advertisement on the Uber Eats. So we will talk about more qualitatively on what kind of policy change we have. And then we will ask like the stakeholders, what kind of metrics do they expect to drive and to measure the success, and what kind of like, then we talk to the engineers, like what kind of tagging we have behind the scene, and then how we can pull the data. Then the next phase, the analysts actually go back to their work so that they just go to this database and pull the data and look at maybe the version A versus version B with and without the advertisement. How does that how does the user's behavior looks like, and propose some kind of initial analysis. That could be like another 2 weeks. And then after that, now people like the analysts or data scientists, they provide some like a visualization or some tables of the results and say, hey, so we have like a significant lift based on this advertisement. Then we can discuss the numbers, whether the procedure to derive some numbers, if the assumption makes sense. And finally, maybe another few weeks, people were working on like documenting the procedures, and maybe we will build a dashboard so that things get more automated, and the marketers, they can just manually open the link of the dashboard to monitor the impact of the advertisement, something like that.
Yeah, I see that it's very complicated. You have to work with like different teams, and then basically it's like a 24/7 job. So there is actually a follow-up question, since you talk about the coding about the campaign analytics. I don't know whether you're going to talk about it later, but what coding do you actually use for the campaign analytics?
So this is also another general guideline for data science at Uber. There is no like strict requirement of what kind of programming language we use for analytics or whatever jobs. We care about is the procedures, the thought process, and also the like what kind of assumption we make, what is the methodology, something like that. But I still can give some general idea what people use. So R and Python are the major scripting language we use for analytics. And for data extraction, I think it's pretty standard in the industry. the SQL type of syntax pretty standard nowadays. I think that is a good skills to have, no matter you are in the analytics track or in the data science track. That is like the standard programming language to do the data extractions.
Okay, awesome, cool, thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's continue. So I'm going to go over some core projects we have. The first one I want to mention is the Uber Bidder platform. So remember, behind the scene of Facebook or some other social platform, just one example, there are many places you can place the ad, right? I think you guys also observe during the Thanksgiving, I guess, when you guys doing some online shopping, you guys may notice like how dynamic those advertisement is, right? Once you click on some, like maybe you are trying to browse some sports shoes or like electronic device, how quickly when you turn back to Facebook, how quickly those ads becomes like electronic device, like the products you literally just browse. So all these things happen in the real time, that they have a dynamics behind the scene. So there is a platform in Facebook or some other like a big company when they try to sell their right to display the ads. So there is a sell side and there is a buy side. So sell side is like Facebook. Once the new visits come in, it trigger the visits, and they know what they have the information of the users, and then they try to gather the information, and then they try to like analyze what kind of value of this customer if I display ad. And based on that, it will ping the buy side like, hey, we have this new customer. And then the buy side also have those information from the sell side that, okay, for this customer, is it valuable to us? And what kind of dollar we can bid for to bid the right to display the ad for the users. So for example, if I just browse a electronic device, maybe let's say a desktop or something like that, then for desktop manufacturer, let's say for Intel or something like that, they will immediately increase the value of bidding an ad for this guy, because based on their model, they think it will tremendously increase our potential in converting a new users. So then they will provide they will increase their bidding value, something like that. So well, that is the assumption. For the buy side, that is some assumption I have based on like they have a bidding platform in there. But for Uber, we definitely have that. So that's why I try to introduce this to you guys. So this is a truly in-house solution from us. We dynamically like assess the value of the new visitor, and then we have a very dedicated algorithm to understand the value and then to provide the amount we want to bid to display the ad. So for this system, we have won a couple of awards. It is displayed here. So yeah, there are a lot of details behind, but this is something we are really proud of and want to share with you guys. Any questions so far? Okay. Next, so this is another big topic in many marketing or not just in I guess not just at Uber, but in general for many companies. So when we do advertisement, we have so many choices, right? We can do it at YouTube, we can do it at Facebook, Twitter, things like that. So how we can make a decision how much money we should allocate for all these channels? So this is a big topic, and I display a showcase a budget planning cycle here. So some key checkpoints here. First, we will try to do experimentation on a particular channel with some tests like whether we use an ad or not on that channel for a particular users, how much lead we can drive. And then we collect all this data and then roll it over to a model. So this is the place the modeling team will shine, that by collecting all this experimentation, how I can integrate a model to analyze. So from the day to day, what is the contribution from different channel? So by knowing this insight, then we can do some optimization. Like we can have some cost curve, or should we move our spend more, or should we reduce the spend for a particular channel so that like we can optimize our the business metric. So at the end, then we put this like suggestion to the engineering team or the operation team to really execute the plan. And so that basically makes up the whole cycle for budget planning. And then when new data come, then for another quarter, then we will start the cycle again. So this is how we do the cross-channel optimization. So next, I also mentioned like we have there are a lot of opportunity when we know some users level data, right? So there is another big topic focus on users behavioral studies. So for example, like I just mentioned that when they click on some products, what kind of implication that means. Maybe for people who in like technology sector, or like maybe they just like certain posts on some restaurants, they are having a higher chance to get converted as trying our food delivery app, something like that. So that just like a simplified assumption. So all this information could be valuable for us to build like a lifetime value models. So we can like analyze based on this pattern of users, what kind of value these customers can provide us. And with that, we can then build some models whether we should, what kind of budget we should spend on maybe let's say bidding to get this user convert as a customer for us. So there are quite a lot of models behind using this user behavioral pattern. And of course, there are some recommendation system we can build. I just mentioned quite a lot of time that for the Uber Eats app, let's say if we have someone who really like some Japanese restaurant, maybe there is some new Japanese restaurant upcoming. Should we like do an advertisement specifically for that? And we can like experiment and do some tests whether this kind of strategy works or not. So that kind of keeps improving our recommendation system. So so after all, this is a very big topic. This is just a couple of cases we can make use of the user behavioral pattern. Okay, next, experimentation is another big topic. I keep mentioning a lot, like when we have different version of like marketing campaign, we have different version of maybe even just like a button of color, or like whether we should display a coupon code at the checkout page or something like that. That could be a huge deal in based on a lot of academic studies. So all these things need some rigorous experimentation to justify the strategy as a data-driven company. So methodology like A/B test, market level test, or a more complicated concept like when we have not just A/B version, when we have multiple version, and we need to like continuously improve the version. That is something called multi-arm banded framework. So all these things is another big topic for us to work on. So if you guys are interested to knowing more about experimentation, I attach a link. This is a link, a blog post written by the experimentation platform team from Uber. So feel free to check that out. And this one is related to the research and development team. So we also, when from time to time, when we develop more like a long-term or generic process, we will open source our code for like a Python package. So this year we have the Orbit as a forecasting Bayesian regression package. And last year we have the causal ML, which is for causal inference and uplift modeling. So these two projects are open source already. I attached the GitHub link here. They have a very nice documentation. Feel free to check it out. So this is another thing we really enjoy doing. We do not only like working like as a black box internally, but we also share some like breakthroughs we have to the data science community. So we welcome like any like community contributor on this open source project. So yeah, so let me make a pause here. Any questions about the core project I just mentioned?
I have a question.
Yes.
I was curious. So have you ever conducted an experiment to see how much like users that use Uber, you know, with the effects of COVID-19, have you ever conducted an experiment to where you show some safety protocols being practiced to see if it's affected any user, like the users in Uber that use Uber? Have you seen any experimentations on that?
I believe so, although I'm not the one who exactly responsible for that. But definitely, this COVID period has a huge deal on changing a lot of things, the dynamics within Uber. Yeah, so one example is that like you can imagine it changed the behavior a lot for people who use the food delivery app, right? So that this kind of things, I mean, really definitely related to the dynamics with COVID. So we behind the scene we do a lot of analysis for the how we interact with the COVID. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, I was just curious if like if you had, of course, you know, with everything changing, it was just curious if you ever conducted an experiment with that.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot share the details here. It's confidential. But to answer your question, yes, it is a big deal for us.
Yeah, there is a question in the chat box. So
Yes.
this student is wondering whether there is a certain type of behavioristic profile that you like to work with the most.
So back to this one. So for one of the projects I'm in charge is about how people finish their journey in getting convert as a eaters, as a customer. So that kind of study is based on like how people like first seeing the ad and what kind of channels do they click, and then finally how do they end up converting? Is it are they convert based on search or based on clicking an ad from Facebook or some mobile app, or even like it's not relevant for all these things. It's just organically convert through, they just download the app naturally from the app store, something like that. So I'm working on this kind of analysis to understand what kind of marketing channels are valuable to when they and when they are in the journey of the user being converted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I got a question as well.
Yes.
Have you ever found that since Uber operates at a loss, that it's limited your department's ability to perform certain tests or do certain initiatives that you want to perform?
Could you repeat the question?
So given that Uber consistently operates at a loss, have you ever found that that has limited your department's ability to perform certain initiatives, do certain tests, you know, kind of conduct certain experiments?
Of course. So it's not really related to like whether we operating at a loss or not in high level. So everything has to have a constraint, right? Even we operating at profit, there certainly has a constraint of budget of within a channel or within the cities. So to make it like a more like a scientific way, we basically, when we do optimization, there are a lot of like budget constraints based on some business guidance or something like that we have set, and then we do the optimization that way. So those guidance, you can say, like based on what kind of portion are we operating at loss or operating at profit. But no matter what, to us is more, we focus on the methodology rather than like the actual numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move forward. I think that one could probably is the most interesting part. So the careers, I would like the data science careers topic. I would like to talk about either it is related to Uber or just tech industry or within the our MDSA org. So all these things will go into this section. So I see a lot of people online sharing this Venn diagram. So I would like to start with this as well. So people like with this Venn diagram with 3 elements, right? Business, engineering, data science. It's generally it's true that this is the like you can think of this is the areas a data scientist will need to work on, or like there are some overlapping areas. So 4 typical roles, I mentioned many of the aspects already in the previous slides about like the team or like the different type of projects, right? From analytics to data science or research. So 4 typical role here, product analytics. So it is like the overlap area with the business area. And then we have the machine learning data engineer, machine learning engineer or data engineer that you focus more on the algorithms or like the deployment. While there are some like hardcore data science guys, they work on more about the math, on something very back end. And then they probably interact with guys here rather than like guys deep into business or engineer, something like that. And then we have like full stack data scientists. And actually this one happens more on a smaller company. For Uber, sometimes we have that, but basically this is like the combination of these 3. So they have to adaptively change their role within a project, something like that. So I will go for some details, what kind of skills they need in a couple of slides. So before I deep dive on the roles, I introduced these proficiency levels. So I introduced like 3 level: foundational, skilled, and advanced. And I have like 5 major categories. What kind of skill sets I expect as a data scientist. So maybe let me quickly explain what are these. So for business acumen, it basically means like the ability to translate data to key business requirements, understanding the financial metrics and how those metrics actually impact the business decision. So for people who has advanced skills on that, I expect they would know how to like translate those metrics even further of short-term versus long-term, and whether it should also capture some kind of risk balance of risk and benefit with those types of analysis. So that is the business acumen. And for coding, pretty straightforward that it measures the like the proficiency in scripting languages, whether you can write a very fluent code when you want to like achieve certain tasks. Can you write the codes to do that? And can you implement some complex analysis, and whether they have ability to work as a team, like not just writing the code. When you're moving to a more advanced skills, can you write something readable to others? Can you make something like reusable in the long run with proper labels and documentation, things like that? So that goes into the coding. And then for statistics and modeling, so it's more knowledge driven. So this is very broad, depends on the task you want to achieve. So some basic ideas could be like A/B test, statistics, regression, or some understanding of probability distribution, probability theory, how we can derive the inference, and maybe some optimization or sampling theory, things like that. And then for problem solving, this basically to measure how people skillful on working as a team and like how effective they could find a solution in a dynamic environment. So like, could you provide like a collaborating framework that can work efficiently as a team? Can you understand when you have a lot of tasks, what is the priorities to do the task, especially when you have a mix of projects, and knowing maybe when you like there are a few solutions in your mind, what kind of what are the pros and cons, what are the trade-offs, so that all these things is the skills in problem solving. And then for communication, how we can articulate those quantitative ideas back to managers or stakeholders. Can we like manage a meeting? Can we do a like an effective presentation and documentation? So all this goes into the communication. So now back to some like idea what I expect for different roles, data science role. So for products analytics, as I mentioned, I expect them to focus more on the problem solving and also the business acumen and communication. So things like because they need to communicate a lot frequently with the stakeholders, what kind of things they observe, based on the data, what kind of things they can do right away for to change the to make the business decision, something like that. So the communication just happen more frequently within this role. Next, this is kind of the opposite. So it requires less for business acumen and communication, but it has a very heavy focus on statistics and coding. So these guys usually like build prototype on like what is the better solution of modeling choice, and from time to time they're required to like read a lot of academic papers. It requires a huge deal of the ability whether they can understand those statistical and mathematical writing and proof, and they also need to write their proof for their new proposed model. And of course, they have to have like a decent skills in coding and problem solving, because they are also involved in executing some of the solutions. So that is for the research scientist. And then for machine learning engineer, it's kind of similar to research scientist, but a little bit different is instead of focusing on like the theoretical stuff, they are more on the implementation or the model deployment. So usually they have knowledge about modeling, but more often they will use some existed framework and they bundle them together in a reasonable way, and then deploy them in a optimal platform, something like that, and make sure they're scalable. So coding is very important for them. I can imagine like coding could contribute a huge portion of their day-to-day work. Oops. Yes. So then, full stack data scientist, as I said, is kind of like basically the role that you to adaptively changing from like doing some exploratory analysis, and then maybe they have also need to do some coding or data automation, versus they may even need to like prototype some kind of coding, modeling, something like that. So that is like the full stack data scientist. So far, any questions? Okay, so next, in the previous slides, I just mentioned like in general what are the what kind of roles we have in data science, but what are so special data science at Uber? So at Uber, we focus a lot on the employees' growth. So whether the employees is working happily, and also like having growth on their domain knowledge or any expertise they want to develop is a huge deal for us. So that said, we have a lot of knowledge sharing group in a weekly or monthly basis, from deep learning, machine learning, reinforcement learning, or causal inference, forecasting, etc. So we have like different reading group. We even sometimes invite some external guests from from Google or from like Netflix, things like that. So we really keep people like learning new stuff, because that is like the biggest weapons we have in the long run. And then for the cultural and leadership talks, we have we have external guests. We also have people from like VP all the way up to CEO to talk about some challenges they have and some inspirational talk. How do they make difficult decisions from time to time? So that's also improve our leadership and culture leadership skills. And again, for technical knowledge, we have sponsorship. I forget the exact amount, but it's like a very reasonable, like a very good coverage on training courses and like external conference. So we highly encourage our data scientists to take training courses or like conference outside, as long as we can prove that is related to the work, where we have fully sponsorship on that. And then for some of our lead, we have some high profile from the industry and also academics. We have professors from UC Berkeley and Cornell. And then if you are interested more about the engineering or data science work, feel free to check out our blog. So this blog is maintained by the whole company. So it involves a lot of talks, not just marketing, but also like other data science. And then finally, I attach a analytics data science career page. I think this is also informative if you guys are interested knowing more about data science work at Uber. And some additional photos here. So on the left, I just attach a photo of the MDSA team when we are doing an offsite cooking class, how to make a good dish of sushi. And then on the right, we are doing some. So from quarter to quarter, we will do some. We will have the whole team to do brainstorming what kind of things we want to do in the next quarter. So we are doing some like a food party in the launch. And then here is another like drinking party we have. So that's pretty much the last word here. I really want to share is, that so this is something I was told from my mentor in my early career. I find it is particularly inspiring. The exact statement is pretty long, but I find a similar quote here capturing the concept. Asking the right questions takes as much skill as giving the right answers. So I find this very inspiring because back to the days when I was in school, I think we are all well trained in getting the answers for specific questions, especially there are many questions that we know there are standard answers from textbooks. However, things are very different when we are working in a real job, at least a data science job at Uber. There are many situations that we need to start by asking questions rather than like getting the answers, because there are many things are open-ended, and like even there are some areas not too many people set the goals yet. So we need to set the goals. We need to ask the questions: what kind of criteria we should bring into in the goal setting process before we dive into the solution. And even we setting up the goal, there could be many things happening during when we're solving the problems. So many of the cases requires follow-up questions. So really, the points I want to bring up here is like thinking of the questions we really need to answer is crucial. It's somehow even more important than the process you find the answer. It is like you need to plan your route before you start driving. So now I hope next time when you guys working for a company, try to spend some energy understanding the situations. Give yourself a pause. Ask yourself first, what are the things here actually we want to solve? If there are questions asked, try to argue within your mind whether these questions make sense, and try to do this exercise constantly. Find this concept very useful, and I wish I could learn it earlier during my career. And I think this is necessary for employees in innovative companies. So I'm wrapping up my presentation here. I attached the career page. Feel free to check it out. And also, I think Mr. Yao has my contact. Feel free to email me if you have any more questions. So let's start the Q&A. So any questions?
As a tech lead manager at Uber, what are your main duties?
So it is a good question. So tech lead manager is kind of like a new definition in the tech industry. So it tries to bridge the gap between like a individual contributor versus a manager. So for my duty, it is like half management and half like individual contributing. So for my day-to-day work, I still need to do a lot of hands-on coding tasks, while I'm also involved in some mentorship program to like oversee some of the junior data scientists, what kind of tasks like what kind of long-term vision they should set, and also like oversee some of the health of the projects.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
So as many of us would be probably going into entry-level positions, I was curious if we were to have 3 hard skills to be focusing on, what would you say we should focus on, like certifying or anything like alternative courses or something like that to focus on as a data scientist?
That's a good question. So did you just say like the hard skills? So okay.
Skills.
Okay, I see. So so as I mentioned, like actually something I want to add here is that like some of the recommendation I would make for junior data scientists is that it actually is not just the like, I know like in school there are like many like statistics or modeling some kind of like very rigorous academic topics we discuss, but many of the time I see like people lacking is really the soft skills side. But that said, since your question is about the hard skill, the technical skills, I would still provide some advice. Like SQL definitely is one of the I would say like the entry ticket for many of the data science interview. So make sure you have a proficiency in SQL programming language. And then another technical skills, probably you need to be quite proficient in one kind of scripting language, like Python or R, something like that. Sometimes there could be some exception. If you're really proficient in Java or C++, you can arguably say you're a good machine learning engineer as well for some specific team. But that is the guideline. Another technical skills, I would say like maybe make sure you are familiar with regression, like all these assumptions for regression, and also like A/B test. Those topics are very, very standard in data science.
Thank you. And then for the soft skills, you said that a lot of junior data scientists lack some soft. Would you be able to share that as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So unfortunately I haven't write up the I can like email Mr. Yao like some of the book list I have. So in general, I just mean like besides reading on those like coding, maybe like some technical books, like what is the syntax to do this kind of stuff, that kind of stuff. What I mean is that try to spend some time to read some inspirational books, like how to make decisions when you have when there are a tough times, and how do you like communicate with different people, how do you build a optimistic environment so that like we can work as a team. So those kind of soft skills, try to learn it either maybe it could be like as simple as just searching in YouTube like some of the topics and enjoy some of the like this kind of non-technical talk. That is actually very important too.
Thank you.
I actually want to follow up with the coding stuff because in my class, we actually touch base on a lot of topics you mentioned, like experiment and A/B testing, machine learning, and this stuff. But I think one thing my class does not really talk about was the coding. So yeah, so my students actually asked me like what the references are to improve their coding skills, and I gave them some references. But I also want to know about your perspective. Like, do you have any good reference for them to learn coding outside the class?
So I may not be a good example, to be honest, because like coding, this kind of things changing very quickly. So back to the day when I was in school, I think I can share my experience, but I'm not saying like this is optimal. So back to the days when I was in school, I was taught with R, and then at that time R does not have that like interface like R Studio. It's like almost like command line. So I was learning in that kind of environment, and I have I was taking some computer science class too. So I have some background on say like object-oriented programming, something like that. But I'm not sure if that is like nowadays this kind of environment. I'm not sure if it's necessary. I definitely see it's very helpful, like understanding maybe object-oriented program design, something like that. But maybe it is a little bit overkill. But that is my experience. Then later on, when I go into the industry, I still use R for a couple of years, and then gradually I translate to Python just by learning from engineers. So again, it's not like it's not it may not be like a standard example for like making a recommendation how to learn coding these days. If I start from the scratch, I think maybe it's just start with so there is a book like Python data analysis. Maybe just start with that book and see if you can like run through the exercise there, and then gradually taking some classes, especially maybe some kind of topics like data structure with Python or with R. That kind of things could be useful. So like, what's the difference between a string object versus a list versus an array? What is the like the dynamic, like how do they allocate the memory? Something like that behind the scene could be useful too. Sorry, does it answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. And also, I recommended my students to take some like classes from Coursera or take some classes, say from
Oh,
LinkedIn.
yes.
So
Yeah,
do you
so
think-
that is helpful too. I totally agree. Yeah, I personally take some classes from Coursera too. It is very helpful. I believe the quality there is pretty good.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions from students about the career or interview or anything?
Oh, yeah, I had a question actually.
Yes.
So I was wondering if someone's interested in like the marketing analytics field maybe, but don't have like too much experience within that field, what are some things that they could do to supplement that lack of experience?
So again, maybe take some coding classes. So one thing, one thing you can like quickly prove like this kind of like coding or like statistics or modeling skills without having like a rigorous training class on the paper is that you can search for like an open source project, like a project in the community, and try to getting yourself involved into it. Then like I see many people nowadays, they will just when they interview or like when they talk to the recruiter, they just show them like, here is my like a GitHub page, or this is like the portfolio of the data science work I have worked on. So because things are very transparent, it's very easy to screen whether the user actually have that skills or not based on those like coding work in the open source project. So that is another way to do it as a complement when you are from like a non-analytical degree or something like that. Yeah. And did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Any other questions? Okay, I think we probably have already answered a lot of questions along your presentation. So yeah, I think probably my students will have some more questions after, I have 2 other sections, so they will probably watch the videos again. And then I think that more questions will pop up. And then
Okay.
Can I email the question to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, that is awesome. Great. Thanks so much, Edwin, for joining us today. And
thank you for inviting me.
To have you here at SDSU and to share your wisdom with us. And really, I myself have learned a lot from you in this lecture, and I believe my students feel the same way. So as a matter of fact, today's class is not only the last guest lecture, but also it's the very last class meeting for the whole semester. And I am very happy that you helped me to end this whole semester at a very high note.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we really hope that we could have you visit SDSU more in the future and hopefully physically on campus next time.
Oh yeah, certainly.
Awesome, cool. All right, thank you guys. So again, this is our last class, and then you only have your final project to work on. So thank you so much for making this semester so much fun, and good luck with your life, with your school, and with your career.